Good afternoon. Today I'm going to give a pro-con speech on how important animal testing is, as well as the negative effects associated with it. So why is it good, why is it bad? To start off, according to the American Cancer Society, the fight against cancer has seen 24 major biomedical advances in the past 30 years. None of them could have occurred without animal research. 8 of the discoveries required the use of living animals, and virtually all of those did not actually use animals. Animal testing for human research has its benefits and its negative effects as well. I have chosen to speak on this topic as I have lost friends and family in recent years from cancer and other diseases such as leukemia. While conducting further research on this topic, I have come across several more stories of people who have lost loved ones, people they know, family, relative, but it could have stopped with more life-saving procedures that could have come from animal research. Some of you out there might also be affected by loved ones who need medical treatment. There are many pros and cons to animal research. Medical breakthroughs at the cost of being inhuman, i.e. not being politically correct, not doing things that society thinks is okay. Alternative testing methods and government regulations are the 3 most debated topics when it comes to animal research. While technology continues to advance, we can't forget how much we've gained through the last century from animal research. Medical breakthroughs have also come to light through the use of animal testing and research. Vaccines for hepatitis C, polio, as well as just a couple other ones out there. The development of insulin was also huge for diabetics, obviously, and that could not have come without animal research. Although we have prolonged or saved many lives from this, we have also killed thousands of animals in the research process. The animal ultimately suffered through poor lab conditions and other treatments that they've seen experimented on. It's not a good process before ultimately being killed in the name of medicine. Insulin, polio, hepatitis C, I mentioned earlier, were discovered through animal research. Animal research experiments in which dogs had their pancreases removed led to the discovery of insulin. So that could not have happened without experimenting on animals, such as dogs, And this I learned through Noble Media. According to the Bulletin of the World Health Organization, or the WHO, the polio vaccine, which was tested on animals, reduced the global occurrence of the disease from 350,000 in 1988 to almost 200 in some cases in 2012. Furthermore, animal research has also led to understanding and treating conditions ranging from breast cancer, leukemia, like I mentioned, and now also brain injuries, so those suffering from concussions in sports. That's been a huge issue as well. So this is coming from animal research, so we might see some really good cases come from this in the sports field. Human lives were saved because of this research. However, many animals died, and ultimately all of them suffered. According to PETA, our friends at PETA, of course, more than 100 million animals, including household pets, mice, rats, cats, dogs, birds, are ultimately killed in laboratories for biology lessons, medical training, curiosity-driven experiments, chemical, drug, food, and cosmetics testing every year. That's a lot. These animals suffered before they died, as lab conditions are not favorable, and the procedures are experimental, and have many side effects. Animals suffer just as humans do, even if they do not have the cognitive ability humans do, meaning they don't think the same way we do. Polio, hepatitis C, and being diabetic is no longer the death sentence it was decades, even centuries ago. Many human lives have been saved while we've killed millions of animals, and most of these animals obviously suffer through the process, like I said. These animals suffered and were killed, and we currently do not have the alternative to the human body that we need to test on. So obviously, to do medicine with human bodies, we need a full circulatory system. Nothing like that currently exists. We can't just replicate that without having that same system, and we don't want to test on humans. So without testing on live humans, researchers need a full circulatory system to study the effects of the medicine that they're trying to research. Although stem cell research has improved, it is not advanced enough to make medical breakthroughs. Without testing on live humans, animals are obviously the next best resource to practice on, as they share similar DNA to the human body. Studies have shown that mice, weirdly enough, contain 98% of the same DNA that humans do. While obviously we know chimps are our sister animal, they contain almost 99% of the same DNA makeup as humans. Animals, however, do not have the same metabolic, anatomic, or cellular structure as humans, making them poor research options. Researchers need a full circulatory system in order to effectively test a drug and its side effects, as the circulatory system is vital to connecting all the vital organs of our body. Even if stem cell research improves, the California Biomedical Association suggests that studying cells in a petri dish is no alternative to interpret how an experiment will affect the interrelated processes of the human body. For example, if we put medicine in a body, how will your lungs be affected? How will your heart be affected? How will this affect all the other organs in the process? Not just putting something in a petri dish and seeing how it goes. Animals have fully functional circulatory systems, which make them a good candidate for testing on. So it can predict how well the medicine or procedure will work on a body. Stem cell research has improved to be able to simulate effects on the body and living human cells. So why are we still using animals? That's a great question. Many agree that no concrete evidence exists that supports animal testing, for medical research was essential in making major medical advances. These same people could also agree that if federal money was spent, the same federal money that was used for the animal research was used to create this fully functional system, synthetic, whatever it needs to be, that we may have still found these cures. So there's pros and cons to the living body as well. Can we create something? What do we use? We don't use animals. So with no alternative to test on humans, does society still think it's okay to test on animals? So until we get that synthetic system, is it still okay for us to use animals? That's up to society, I guess. The government says it's okay, and it's currently regulating the process. Testing on animals for medical research is a highly, highly regulated process. Although there are protections in place, some people may think that those protections are limited and also very dated. 95% of the animals used for these medical research experiments are protected by the Animal Welfare Act. The Animal Welfare Act was signed by Lyndon B. Johnson in 1966. And although it was passed in 1966, it was amended 8 times over the last couple of decades, and it still does not encompass everything it needs to. The Animal Welfare Act specifically stipulates how animals used for testing must be kept. This includes their cage, water, food, temperature they're kept at, all that good stuff. Before animals can be even tested on, organizations must get approval from the Institute for Animal Care and Use Committee. Laws and committees have been established by the federal government to protect these tested animals. Society may agree or disagree whether or not they think that protection is enough or whether we need more. Animal testing as a whole remains subjective. And some of you may agree whether or not we are doing enough to regulate it. Although testing on animals for human research has proved successful for finding cures, like I mentioned earlier, do we still need to do it? It's a heated topic for us. Without being able to test on humans, researchers have decided to test on animals, as it's the closest alternative for us, and it mimics the human body, obviously. There are several government regulations in place to protect animals, but those regulations may not ultimately be enough, depending on your situation and your view of the situation. As science progresses, one day we might have a synthetic human body, like I mentioned, or advanced stem cell research to be able to discontinue the use of animal testing. As you can see, there are many pros, many cons about animal research. As society progresses, we may find ourselves reviewing the use of animal testing and eventually ceasing the use of it altogether.